I am going to fix every isekai. Why? Because you and I both know isekais suck. Let me pitch you a story. It's late on a random day and you're bored, so you go on your legal anime site and you start looking around for an anime to watch just to kill some time. And there you find it. An anime that's weirdly highly rated, side note wise, every isekai on like every most trending anime list. Anyways, so you find an anime with a really long title that's about some dude being transported to another world, and it sucks. It sucks so hard. Every girl is like 12 years old with a triple Z cup and she wants the main dude. The main dude has literally the personality of a block of wood. And every interaction in the story solely exists to show off how cool and strong this dude is. And then you go back to the main page of your legal anime site and you find out that it's the fifth anime this season that's like that. This is the isekai problem. Fundamentally, this is a problem that every anime genre has. The more animes a genre has, the more garbage ones will exist. That's just how it is. Not everything can be a banger. But this video isn't about fixing every lame action anime out there. I am going to fix every isekai. Let's go. But first, did you know that you can fix me not making money on YouTube videos? These videos take a long time to make, so if you could subscribe or check out my Patreon, that'd mean the world. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, so you probably know what an isekai is if you're already watching this video, but I'm gonna lay out some ground rules so there's no confusion. The term isekai literally translates to different world or other world. It's a genre of anime that usually deals with somebody ending up through some means. Sometimes it's death, other times it's a portal. Either way, they find their way into another world that is physically or metaphorically different than the original world that they came from. Usually this means going from a normal world to a fantasy world or a science fiction world, but for the purposes of this video, Isekai will also contain stories about people who have traveled deep into the future or into the past, because they are metaphorically different worlds. If you disagree, yell in the comments to me about how I think that Futurama is technically an Isekai or something. Over the course of the video, I'll be referencing Isekai anime or manga or manhwa to illustrate my main points. While it would be a lot funnier to just say things and be like, yo, just trust me, bro. This way, I can make you all watch my favorite. You can understand what I mean with real world examples. Also, one of the things that usually stays the same throughout all isekai is that the main character must retain all or some of the memories of a past life in their past world. This is just like a staple of the genre. Everything else is basically fair game. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Arguably, the most important part of the isekai is the main character, or main characters. They are our anchor point into this new world of infinite possibilities. Or they're the same copy-paste guy who's too strong and has no personality. Anyways. Because they're an outsider to this new world, they're also our conduit to learning how this new world works and its lore. If this is their first time in this world, we learn alongside them. And if this is a world that they've previously visited, we learn about how the world works through the main character pointing out the differences from their time or original perspective. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Being OP or overpowered. If you don't know, isekai anime are a breeding ground for overpowered main characters. Like, it's basically a prerequisite at this point. It's more rare to have an isekai where the main character is normal and not overpowered at this point, to be honest with you. Okay, so the problem with being overpowered in isekai animes, and just in general, is that it can often lead to stale storytelling. If I'm watching a show and this is the 8th time in the first episode that the main character has done something and everybody else has gone like, whoa, how did you do that? That's impossible. It's lame and boring after like the 3rd time. You're basically just speedrunning beating a dead horse. Don't get me wrong, a character defying all expectations set on them by people around them is really cool and like a burst of dopamine. But you can't keep doing the same thing over and over without facing diminishing returns. The best way to fix that is to earn it. The viewers need to feel like there's a significant amount of time that has passed and that things have changed significantly before you can do it again. That's why in shows like One Piece or Hunter x Hunter, or even shows like One Punch Man, these moments are extremely few or far between, or they feel earned, so that when a problem does arrive in the plot, it doesn't feel like a game of rock, paper, scissors, and the main character is just choosing gun every single time. Which, by the way, if you did that as a kid, you're now clinically depressed. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Anyways, so your main character is allowed to be overpowered, but it has to be in context. What is that context, you might be asking? Well, first they need to have weaknesses. In Ascendance of a Bookworm, the main character, Mine, has an abundance of mana, an inhuman amount, but there's a problem. She's incredibly frail and very, very poor. And in the world that she lives in, if you're someone with a lot of magic, that it can literally kill you if you can't pay for proper medical care to take care of it. That's why the majority of people with lots of magic in this world are rich nobility because they can already afford to take care of it. And it's actually beneficial to them if they are the only people in the world with magic, because it's a roundabout way that proves that nobility are actually better than the common person. In No Game No Life, yup, that's an Isekai. You probably forgot that as an Isekai, huh? Main characters Sora and Shiro are sent to a world where everything is decided by games, and in the world that they come from, they are the best gamers. They are geniuses who are the best at every possible game, beating chess grandmasters and being the top players in MMORPGs. But there's one problem. They're just normal humans in this new world with a bunch of races of people who are genetically superior to them. Wait, that sounds weird. Anyways, let's take this game of heads or tails for example. For Sora and Shiro, this could be a normal game of luck, but for a wolf race person, their eyes and brains are fast enough that they can calculate where the coin will fall while it's still in the air. Or what about the people who can just use magic? Sora and Shiro are just normal humans, but there are people who can live without breathing or block nuclear explosions with magic. This is the crux of the show. They're trying to beat these monsters while being human. And lastly, let's look at the ultimate example. Anos Voldigod. Anos' whole shtick is that he's literally too strong. Like, it's the meme of his character. Oh, you thought you could stop me in my tracks just because you stopped time? Oh, you thought you could kill me just because I died? His whole thing is that he defies all logic with how strong he is. But even he has his limits. In the show, he laments that even as the Demon Lord, he cannot wield the sword that the hero uses. And despite his immense strength, he could never ever kill the hero. Because unlike every other being on the planet, the hero has 7 souls that would heal each other every time he would die. So he could come back to life literally infinitely. So you're allowed to be overpowered, but you must also have your limits. And if you don't have limits, there must be other people in the world who are stronger than you, or at least represent an endpoint that you have not reached, like in Slime. I need to feel like there's some possibility of this character being wounded or dying, or there's no real stakes in anything. So, okay, what about personality? I'm not gonna tell somebody how to write their main character, okay? That's the story. Why don't I just write the whole story while I'm at it for you? Speaking of writing stories, I'm actually planning on streaming D&D in the future on my Twitch. Check it out, twitch.tv/darnellsleft. Anyways, your main character's personality can be anything just so long as they have an actual personality. Do not make them a wooden board audience surrogate. I'm watching an anime, not playing a Persona game here. Give them a personality beyond a wooden board who is shy when he sees a girl, or a wooden board who is horny when he sees girl. Please, literally, I am begging you. They're allowed to be shy or horny. Don't get me wrong, just please do not make it their defining character trait. Okay, main characters are cool and all, but what about the place where we are? What about this new world? What about... So we're in a new world, right? This is the perfect chance to have a cool world with lots of lore and crazy mechanics. In stories, after the main story is finished, the thing that people still talk about for years to come is the lore and mechanics behind the world. I probably listen to more Star Wars based podcasts than actually watch Star Wars. You know, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Pokemon, people love these worlds and their mechanics. But it's not, like an everyday thing that somebody can just create Star Wars, right? So if your world isn't cool, at least make your story good. Or at the very least, do not use that one sim village that everybody uses, please, I'm begging you. So just make a cool world with fun mechanics or something, please. The popular isekais mostly take place in fantasy worlds, but the mechanics of how the worlds work, and conversely how the protagonists use it, are completely different. And another thing is that these systems are usually pretty complex and interesting. Whether it's Slime's evolution system or that one official Square Enix manga where the main character is a dude who isekais into a Final Fantasy world and he's like, wait a minute, I work at Square Enix. Just make it a fun and cool world. But okay, let's say you can't. Let's say you've got a big dumb brain like me, and you're bad at making settings, okay? Then that's fine. Use a generic Murim setting or a fantasy setting like everybody else. It's all kind of negligible if all the other aspects are good or do a lot of heavy lifting. Like, one of my favorite isekais takes place in a pretty generic Murim world. What makes it good is that the main character's introspection about the world and the people around him. Speaking of, let's talk about old worlds. So this is something I don't see a lot in bad isekais, or they usually just skip it or ignore it. The original world that they came from. While you don't need a full ReZero regret arc, before being isekai'd, this person had a full life in another world. They had things that they care about, people that they care about, and now they're in a new world where none of it exists. In The Return of the Mount Hua sect, main character Chung Young finds that the once prosperous sect that he was part of has now fallen into ruin. He was once their rising star genius. He would slack off of training, break rules like no drinking, and would cause a ton of problems for the sect. His best friend grew up to become the sect leader and took on all the responsibilities associated with that, while Chung Young only amplified his own behavior. His best friend would always cover for him, and as a result, Chung Young took his lifestyle and his friend for granted. Now in the future, Chung has taken upon himself to restore his clan to its former greatness, and as a result, has taken up sort of a role that his best friend had. While he's not the sect leader, he's definitely molding the sect directly. Chung, as the story goes along, faces many problems. However, most of them are not very martial. He is the greatest genius who has ever lived in regards to the blade, but a sect is not only one person. His job is to raise the future generations while securing the present at the same time. And as a result, as the story goes along, he grows a greater respect for his best friend, and now he can see and understand the struggles that he had to go through and the torture he put his friend through. His respect for him doesn't grow, it's just evolved. It's like seeing a new side of his friend that he never even imagined. Through his work, in the future, he's slowly becoming closer to his friend in the past. And finally, this culminates in the end of the first season, where the sect leader who had watched this child basically revive his dying sect speaks to him. Up until this point, he has basically been a very reserved man. He wanted the best for his students, but he was also defeated by the fall of his sect. He tells Chung Myung that he doesn't come to him as the sect leader, but as a man, and he thanks him from the bottom of his heart for helping everybody in the sect. A sect leader's job is to care for their people, but coming to him as a normal man tells Chung that he cares for everyone regardless of his position. It's just a pure and honest love from a nearly broken man. And in this moment, Chung sees his old friend's face in the sect leader, and he thinks to himself that he respects this sect leader. The sect leader would ideally be a person that he would be the angriest at, the person in charge of the sect that he's been torturing himself to help. But he understands that the sect leader is just a man trying his best, a man dealt an impossible hand and tasked with watching and caring for a group of failures in the eyes of society. And yet, he does his responsibility with honor and with pride. In this moment, Chung regards the sect leader with respect, not as he formerly would in his previous life as the strongest genius ever. In a world where the only thing you should respect somebody for is their strength, no, he respects the sect leader as a man, just for being the person that he is. For the audience, this is obvious. You should respect people for being, cool and good. For Chung, this is something he has to learn because we understand how he was previously. It's never really stated that he only respected people for their strength, but in this moment, we understand that that's the exact type of person that he was, and why that this moment is a change. His past affects his future and directly allows him to change and grow. That's what an old world should help you with, growth. The old world doesn't exist anymore, sure, but it's also a part of you, and ultimately it defines the current you. And it doesn't even need to be big like that. Even if this is one scene, please mention the past, because it's important to who your character is now. Okay, but now that we're done talking about everything that the main character has their overpowered, trauma-filled hands on, let's talk about the thing that they're not. Side characters are so important. You see that little guy over there? He's important. It's impossible to overstate how important side characters are. Listen, even if you've disagreed with everything I've said so far, you still gotta agree that getting these guys right is necessary to a good story. Anyways, we can't spend every second with our main character, no matter how epic they are. We just can't. So we've got to have side characters, and they have to be fun to be around. Dear God, this is important. Listen, they don't have to be like good people who work well with the main character or something. Just make them fun. Like, they should be able to stand on their own for an episode and like not have me lose my interest. Or they should be at least able to act with other characters in a fun or interesting way. My main point is they should be able to stand on their own without the main character. Like in Konosuba, I could watch the main girls interact without Kazuma appearing even once and not even notice. Side characters shouldn't just exist to exist. They should have their own goals, dreams, personalities, and dear God, make them interesting. Listen, I love Overlord, but I promise you I do not need a story on why these two lizard people need to fuck. I promise you I do not need this. Okay, I'm gonna create my own law. Here it is, Darnell's Law. If this already exists, well, too bad. I'm trademarking it right now. I'm pulling a fine bros right now. You know, just without any of their clout or money. Subscribe to the Patreon, by the way. Anyways, Darnell's Law. It's like the Bechdel test, but for Isekais. Okay, here it is. In a good Isekai, 2 or more named characters who are not the main character must have a conversation that does not involve the main character or anything that the main character is involved with directly. And for bonus points, the conversation must be important. You'd think that would be easy, like the Bechdel test. You would be surprised. Okay, I'm gonna cheat and use Return of Mount Huasect again. That's great, go read it. But there is a scene between 2 junior disciples before a big event where they kind of just discuss what they want in life and why they want to be stronger. It's a very sweet conversation, and it outlines what they want to do in the story, and it makes them feel like real people with hopes and dreams outside of the omega powerful genius who is shaking up the world. They do mention the main character's actions briefly, but the point of the conversation is that the 2 characters have to figure out what they're doing in life and what they are fighting for. The conversation gives these characters growth and it makes them feel like people. It's very good. Do more stuff like that. I don't need big boob girl number 7 to talk about how much she loves the main character. I'm good. I'm fine. It's enough slices. So I have a question. Why does this video exist? Why did I make it? I mean, this won't solve the Isekai problem. No one who makes Isekai is gonna watch my videos and instantly have a change of heart or something. Ultimately, I think the problem with the genre of Isekai is bigger than itself. I kind of alluded to it at the start, but these problems exist in every genre. It's just way more obvious right now in the Isekai genre. And I understand why Isekais that are bad exist. They're just poorly executed power fantasies. But I don't think the people who make them are dumb. I mean, to make an anime or a manga or a manhwa requires an incredible amount of effort and a lot of money and a lot of people. I think these people know what they're doing. I don't think they're idiots or blind or filled with so much ego they can't see beyond what's right in front of them. It's just bad art. The problem I see in Isekai is also a problem I see on YouTube as well, or in movies, or in books. It's everywhere. You've probably seen it too. A YouTube video that was made purely for clicks but has little substance. A movie that was designed for a product first and everything else second. It feels like I've been tricked. Like someone knew exactly what to say and then lured me into a trap and sucked away time from my life that I will never get back. I want to be real with you for a second. I know what the title of this video sounds like. It sounds interesting. It makes you think, ooh, what are they gonna say? I know, I designed it. The purpose of this video is never really to analyze every isekai ever created. That's an impossible, if not Herculean task. Beyond all the calls to subscribe or check out my Patreon or my Twitch or whatever, ultimately, I think I designed this video to talk about the feeling of emptiness I have when I watch a new isekai anime. I just want to be a kid again who's watching Naruto at his aunt's house. She's got a satellite TV, so her anime channels are a little bit ahead of the ones that I have. That feeling of pure elation, seeing so many things that I could never have imagined, and telling a story that's so captivating. I want to feel that again, instead of how empty everything feels now. That's what I want from isekais. I have hope that things will change. I mean, I mentioned a bunch of stuff that I actually do like that are isekais in this. I want isekais to be just another genre of anime, instead of the current punching bag that it's become. I'm gonna leave you with a joke that me and my friends would tell each other in high school. There's this anime called 100. Do not watch it, it's so bad. But it's a generic harem anime, and that's all you need to know. And how I felt about 100 is the exact same way I feel about isekais right now. Ready? Here we go.
So why do they call it 100? Because there's 99 other animes just like it. Hey, if you like what I had to say, consider subscribing, or check out my Patreon or other content. I know you'll just love it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.